On Friday, Boodles, Cheltenham Gold Cup time. Go on, it's the big one. Let's kick off with the underbet trend, Matt Toombs, please.
Horses that hadn't run over further than 3 miles, half a furlong in a chase under rules, 10 from 45, 55% profit. Do you want me to crack on with my selection, Tom?
So you put Factor 4, but they basically said he's not going to run in the Gold Cup, right? But you think they might change?
Yeah, I think they might change, particularly if you get some decent ground. My heart says I hope Galopin de Champs wins. He's a genuinely great horse, but he's about 1.65, something like that at the moment. The shortest any horse has gone off in the modern era is 1.73. So I just look at Corbett's Cross and look at his jumping, and you're thinking they're just not going to stand up in a Gold Cup. Having from where he started the season, JP, with all those promising second season chases, is he really going to want to go into the Gold Cup without his best one? And probably his best two, I would have said Spillane's Tower would have had a better chance than Corbett's Cross. On Factor File, he hasn't settled, and they've been trying different things to try and settle him. That's been in 2 steadily run races over 3 miles at Leopardstown, where we know Galopin de Champs is brilliant in those steadily run races there. Uses his class, particularly now he can be ridden up the front. That bizarrely, that doesn't mean that Factor File won't get the extra turn a bit furlong to the Gold Cup. It sounds counterintuitive to say a strongly run race might help him stay better than one that's steadily run. But horses aren't as simple as wanting a certain trip. Some need a certain tempo. Some sprint well off a crawl, some need to an end-to-end gallop and are effective at different trips, going the tempo that suits them. I just think going a faster tempo, and if he's allowed to settle, Factor File could well get home here. And that trend about the speed horses are consistently underbet. Preview night circuit, all you hear is, oh, it's a real stamina test. And actually, those horses tend to get overbet. So he's around 20.0. I'm prepared to take an anti-post punt on that because he's a single figure price if he turns up.
Okay, let's go towards the top of the market. Emma?
Yeah, in kind of general, I've been trying to take on the favourites, but I can't see past Galopin de Champs. Look, his last 2 runs in Leopardstown, the first day at Christmas, he kind of stretched them from the front, made it a real test of stamina. And then the last day, Paul kind of took it a bit easier on him. He stacked them all up in behind. I'd say if Factor File was going to be Galopin de Champs, he had his chance there. Paul only turned it into a sprint after the last fence, but Galopin sprinted away from him again. I think, look, with any bit of luck on the way around, it's going to be fairly clean sailing for him. I'd say he's probably one of my bankers of the week. I'm going to probably double him up with Majbra, which will be my nap of the week, I think.
Okay, and are you backing at 1.64, Charlie, Galopin?
No, I won't be backing him, but he just wins.
Okay. Lee, you are you, it seems, from what you've written?
Yeah, I think it's a fair price, to be honest. I can't see anything in behind that. I do like Matt's case because I do think that Factor Fail it probably will come here, to be honest. I know there's been murmurs of going to the Ryanair, but I wouldn't be relying on Corbett's Cross, that's for sure. But then, in the same case, do you really want to kill Bambi as such and spoil that 3rd Gold Cup for Galopin de Champs? Look, I think it's his to lose. And I think, like Emma says, he kept something in reserve, Paul, down end of the last day. They come to him and he just had enough to see them off at the end, and he just galloped away, and he's very strong at the lane. He takes a lot to pull up as well. It's all on him, and I think it's a fair price.
All right, Donn, if you'd have asked me before recording what 2 horses you're definitely going to support out of Gomery, National and Banbridge, I'm not going to lie. So you're praying for decent ground, right?
You got the double up. Yeah, well, Banbridge won't run, I'd say, if the ground comes up soft. And there is a better chance of better ground towards the end of the week, statistically, than at the start of the week. But look, I just think Banbridge he's been an underrated horse. That's in most of his career. Like he was very, very good at winning the King George. We didn't know that he was going to stay the King George trip. He'd only had 1 previous run over 3 miles, which was inconclusive, I think, in the Sefton Hurdle at Aintree. But he did stay the trip in the King George, and he really had to, because Ile Francais got out in front, and he wasn't stopping. The sections tell us that Banbridge was 2 seconds faster through the final 4 furlongs than all his rivals, and his fastest rival was Ile Francais, so he kept on going.
So I think, can I just on that, on the
Yeah.
data we use on Racing TV, that's a bit something that hasn't been really hit upon. The second, sure, he was outstayed, but like Banbridge was going away from a horse that was still running faster than everything else.
Yeah.
So
Ile Francais, it wasn't like Ile Francais went too fast early on and then was stopping. He was faster than everything else through the last 4 furlongs, and Banbridge was more than 2 seconds faster than him. So he really had to stay to win the race. And it's not surprising that he stays. His dam's a half sister to Major Malarkey, who's a 4-mile winner or 4-mile chaser for Nigel Twiston-Davies. And Banbridge, like, he's a Martin Pipe Hurdle winner, as we've said earlier on. That's a race that does foster staying chases of the future. And yes, he's another 2.5 furlongs to go in a Gold Cup, and it's Cheltenham, not Kempton. But I think there's every chance he'll stay. And if he does, he's got the pace to win over 2 miles. He won an Arkle Trial. He won the Punshon Champion Chase when he stayed on to get the better of Captain Guinness. Okay, he did need every yard of it, but that's over 2 miles at Punchestown. And he's got the stamina in order to win a King George, and possibly more stamina than that. So, like, he held entries in plenty of races at Cheltenham, but I think Joseph has said that the Gold Cup is going to be where he'll go if he goes somewhere, and that's ground dependent. But he was so good with King George, he's had a break since then. Look, you'd love to see Galopin Des Champs winning it. He's to make history, to win 3 Gold Cups in a row and join Best Mate and Arkle and Cottage Rake. But I think Banbridge is a real rival to him.
Dan.
Yeah, I won't dwell on it too long, but Monty Starr, I think, has been working back from this race, and I couldn't have had him for love nor money in the Brown Advisory last year, and he really impressed me with the way he actually went through that race, given his inexperience. And it's been all roads leading back to the Gold Cup since. Plenty of reasons why he's slightly underperformed in 2 starts this season, not fit at Tremor. Obviously, Henry's runners in general around the Dublin Racing Festival just weren't running at all well. So the fact he got as close as he did, I thought was a massive testament to him. It's all been about this race. To have a winning chance, Galopin Des Champs would need to underperform by about a stone. But I think Monty Starr is set up to run a career best, and I can definitely see him placing and probably finishing second to Galopin Des Champs.
Okay, and I know you've put online the without market, which is always worth something looking at, particularly those odds on the shots. How's our resident bookmaker approaching the Boodles Cheltenham Gold Cup, Michael?
Well, I'll be betting on both markets. I'll be betting on the race, and I'll be betting without. And I'm hoping the without market takes off, to be honest, because as a bookmaker, you look for any excuse to oppose, especially something that's going to be a short price. And I didn't know that fact about the shortest price favourite being about 1.7. Wouldn't surprise me if this was 1.5 or less. That said, I will have to stand Galopin. If it's good ground, I think we've got a chance with horses like Banbridge. But I think, from my point of view, I want to bet without, because what tends to happen is horses like Banbridge or Fact or File, if he turns up, those horses who think they've got a glimmer of winning the race, in trying to win the race, they don't finish second. So a lesser thought of horse can sometimes run into second, and therefore the betting without Galopin could be my road to profit that race. At the end of the day, I think Galopin, he wins bar an X Factor.
Okay, so you're not sort of massively keen to get out and get him, if you like, Galopin. He's not one of the most confident lays, right?
No, he'll be a small loser. I'll pay a fine and clap when he makes history.
Okay, understood. Okay, moving on then to the Triumph Hurdle, back to the start of the day. Who have we got combining? A couple of Lulambas. Dan overall.
Yeah, and to be honest, he was a horse I didn't want to like, because he's one of these hype horses, load of rumours. He was smashed into nearly borderline favourite before he'd even run in this country, and I was kind of hoping he would just be a bit average, but I was really, really impressed with what he did at Ascot. Now, of course, you can grab the form with Mondo Man disappointing since, but I mean, St Pancras was back in 5th, and he's actually gone and won and was second in that race at Sandown recently. So it's one of those where you can interpret the form either way, but realistically, it was more the style than the substance of the form and what he did at Ascot. Went through the race extremely well. Only just really urged to go and win his race late on, and did so emphatically, did so very quickly. So seemingly the hype and the rumours weren't accurate before that race, because he was, say, touching 6.0 before he'd even run there. I think East India Dock is, based on what he's done at Cheltenham, I can see why he's edging favouritism, but Nicky Henderson knows what it takes to win a Triumph Hurdle. This horse has been talked up massively, and from what he showed at Ascot, I think this could be a juvenile who can follow in the footsteps of a like a Sagino. I think he has that star quality about him. Yeah, I'd be really sweet on him. I think he's a horse with a massive future.
All right, Charlie.
Dan summarised it really, really well. I completely agree with all of that. Yes, East India Dock has the flat form and that sort of Cheltenham hurdling form, but I just think this horse jumps into the could be anything realms, and I was blown away by him at Ascot. As you say, there was a lot of hype behind him beforehand. This race is no longer a lottery as well, so the lack of experience doesn't worry me, and I just think he's going to prove to be a cut above these.
Michael, this is a race where I suppose either could go off at the top of the market. The two of them are pretty close. Which one are you against?
If I had to lay one of them, I would lay Lalamba. I take on board it's got all the potential and it's well talked up, but it's for that reason that I'd rather be against Lalamba. East India Dock's done nothing wrong. The form in the book looks bomb-proof to run its race. Lalamba could well win a bus ride, but I always tend to find these catching pigeon horses, and as Dan said, it was heavily backed for Triumph before we even saw it. It may well go off favourite, but for me, I'd rather stand Lalamba than East India Dock.
And Lee?
Yeah, I like East India Dock. Like Michael says, we're kind of know where we're at with East India Dock rather than Lalamba. Was the high post going into Ascot, does have the potential, but the two runs from East India Dock, the two trails in bolted up, kick clear on the last. I think he's a worthy now favourite as well. Leapfrog Lalamba in the market. The one, and I know a couple of the panel here like Galileo Dame. I thought she ran a solid race the last day behind Hello Neighbour. Stepped forward from Hurdle's debut run, but was running good races on the flat. Joseph, actually, funnily enough, watched the race with Joseph O'Brien, and I said afterwards, is she worthy to go for the Triumph now? And said yes straight away. So he had it in his mind. That was a solid performance, and yeah, I think for the place market, Galileo Dame is worthy, but I really like East India Dock.
It feels weird that Galileo Dame's first time I mentioned an Irish horse in this race. You agree, do you, Matt?
Yeah, I do. And that there is a trend that quite supports this. And that's that winners of the Grade 1 Spring, 3 from 15, 30% loss, but losers 6 from 34, 106% profit. It may only be 41 days between the Spring and the Triumph. That can be a long time for the juveniles, often improving at very different rates during the season. Galileo Dame was very novice on her first start over hurdles. She looked to me to be ridden to run well in the Spring, rather than thinking going there that she had a good chance of winning. Finish like a train. Now, the winner keeps winning narrowly, so perhaps he's just got more up his sleeve. I'll let Donn make the case for him. But just watching the Spring, I thought, yeah, she could reverse the form. And the difference between the prices is just too big. She's a huge price.
Go on then, Donn.
Yeah, no, absolutely see where Matt's coming from. She's a high-rated horse on the flat as well, rated 96, as is Hello Neighbour. I think he's rated 96 or 97. But that was after just 2 runs. He'd only run twice on the flat before he went over hurdles. Gavin Cromwell ran him in the Grade 2 novice or juvenile hurdle at Leverton over Christmas, not the maiden hurdle. He won that, just got home by a short head. And as Matt said, just didn't win by far the last day either. But he did leave the impression that he had more in hand than the winning margin. He won by 3 parts of a length from Galileo Dame, who came fast and late at him. But he travelled really well through the race. He was still on the bridle, turning for home. He picked up, went to the front, and then he just seemed to have done enough at that point, and she came at him then. But he's only had 4 runs, 2 on the flat and 2 over hurdles. He's won all 4 times. He's another horse who we just don't know where his ceiling is. He did an awful lot wrong when he won the Grade 2 race over Christmas. He did it a lot better the last day, but there's still room for improvement. He was still a wee bit keen. He wore a hood for the first time the last day. I'm sure he'll wear that again. His jumping was a wee bit better, but there's still room for improvement in his jumping. And you can just see him travelling through his race. And yeah, I think he's a live player, and I think he should be closer to the 2 British trained horses at the top of the market than he is.
All right, and Emma, you're back with Galileo Dame.
Yeah, I think the guys have made the case. I just think her price is too big, considering her one behind Hello Neighbour last time was very encouraging.
And then the Albert Bartlett, the last of the Grade 1s we're going to be looking at. So you haven't got a bet here, Matt, but I'll get your trend kicking things off, please.
The trend is that graded hurdle winners at 2 miles 7 or further, 7 from 56, 75% profit. Typically, punters look at those races over the winter, think they're slow old boats and not good enough, and they tend to be underbet.
Emma, you've sort of already made the Final Demand case, but and you got another as well.
Yeah, Final Demand. I think if he shows up here, he'd probably be one of my bankers of the day. But it looks like he'd probably go for the shorter race, unfortunately. But I think Wingman has a real solid chance. Like if the likes of Final Demand doesn't show up here, like this could end up being a really, really open race. Like you've got the likes of the big Westerner who could be up towards the top of the market. Kind of a few kind of quite unexposed horses. But I think Wingman is kind of learning his trade a bit, I suppose. He was really, really keen in his bumper days, maybe the start of his hurdling as well. But I thought his last couple of runs were fairly encouraging. Look, he was beaten a fair bit by the Aido Clay and Final Demand. But if the two of those head for the 2.5 mile race, there mightn't be a whole pile better than Wingmen in it. And I think he's about 11.0. Look, he's probably nearly guaranteed to be in the places if some of the bigger names don't show up. So Final Demand, if he's there, would be my one of my naps of the day. But if not, Wingmen, I think is a solid bet.
Lee, take it away with your two.
Yeah, I like Emma, similar. If it's, I'm basing it on that. The other horses at the top of the market do go to the legs of a turn, as I think Sounds Victorious, 26.0. I think he wants this trip, and there's one I'd chuck in, the Matt Kim Bailey combo now, Moon Rocket. Only ran recently there at Haydock, but was staying on again at the line. I think 41.0 for a horse that's improving, and definitely wants this kind of test. I think is overpriced, but it's 2 against the favourites if they don't go. I think just similar. What Emma was saying, you're trying to maybe dodge them, but if they do come here, they look the class angle in it.
Michael, just on you. I mean, I know how you're approaching this, but it's bet big prices on the day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this race is almost been a bookmaker's benefit over the years. It's 11 years since the favourite won this race. Obviously, we'll know a lot nearer the time which horses are going to turn up, but I just think it's put the prices on the board, the punters are back, whatever the back, throw it in, and the chips will lie where they fall. I couldn't really say I'm against or with anything, but like I say, it's normally been a pretty good race with the bookmaker.
Charlie, who do you like?
Yeah, I like Wendigo, the horse that finished second to the new line in the Challow. It just looks like he's just all about stamina. After that, I mean, he had a canter round at 1 to 11 at Wetherby. Again, just the further he went, the better he was. He's got, I think, 4 runs already under his belt this season, so he's pretty seasoned, hardened competitor, which I think you often need to be in this race. Quite often isn't run by a top-notcher, just won by a horse that really relishes the absolute test that this race provides. And I think he's sort of 19.0. I thought he was an interesting horse in the win and place market.
Donn?
Yeah, I think Jasmine DeVoe is an interesting horse, Tom. He's the champion bumper winner from last year when he stayed on well to win that day. Like he started off this season, his jumping wasn't good in his first maiden hurdle, but he still won it. He beat the Enabler and Work Ahead, and they both came out and won at Leopard's Head at Christmas. He went to the Lawlers hurdle the next day. He was sent off a short price favourite for that, and his jumping wasn't good again. He didn't get away with it there. He was a well-beaten 4th. But then the last day at Leopard's Head in the Nathaniel Lacey race, Willie Mullins put cheap pieces on for the first time. His jumping was better. He just got a little bit outpaced when they quickened around the home turn, but he stayed on. Like he does have 5.5 lengths to find with Wingmen on that running, and I see Emma's case for Wingmen for sure. And in a sense, it doesn't make sense that Jasmine DeVoe is a shorter price than Wingmen, but he does have that Cheltenham Festival winning form. You'd imagine he'll improve from that run the last day. He should improve for a step up and trip. There's plenty of stamina in his pedigree. He could be Willie Mullins' #1 representative in the race, in a race in which he's got a good record as well. And yeah, I can see Jasmine DeVoe going well.
We're on to any other bets on Friday. Charlie Poste, big price.
Bunting, just I know he's multiple entered. He ran okay as a grade 1 in grade 1s as a juvenile. I'd only had the 1 run over hurdles in January this year where he made a bad mistake, which cost him his winning chance, but gave him his sort of 5th qualifying run that they need to run in one of the handicap hurdles. He's trained by Willie Mullins, owned by Tony Bloom, and wherever he goes, I'm going to have a little bit on him because I just think he's a horse that it could off 135. It looks like he's handicapped to win a big pot.
Lee, who do you like on the rest of the card?
I like seeing Nominee. the mare who won the Hunters last season, she's just disappointed this season because she was unseated and fell, but she fell in a race when against Marsh Wren. The form of the race has worked out well. She would have been a challenger at least, and was running a good race up until that point. I think it was a bit too early to say. The last day at Doncaster again ticked up, but if you look at the run last season, she was going to get chopped off by It's on the Line coming to the last, kind of clattered through with the last and still rallied to beat It's on the Line. Before that, she had bolted up. She was a champion hunter last season as well. I think she had a big price to go in against It's on the Line, who's very short from this point in the last day. So yeah, seen nominee, I think 8.0, and the yard as well has been having plenty of point winners as well. So yeah, I'm confident in that pick.
And Emma, last of them.
Yeah, I'd say the kind of the kind of cat is out of the bag with her already, I suppose. Look, I suppose everyone knows the case now on her form. Like, she went off one, I think she's on a mark of 138 now, but like with Joy Earls coming out and winning last time, she's probably going to get smashed by the handicapper tomorrow, you'd imagine. But keep an eye on her, I suppose. The fact they think she's good enough to be the super sub for the likes of a Mares potentially quite tells you all you need to know. How much she'll get tomorrow will be kind of a guessing game, but I think, look, if they're not too harsh on her, I'd say she'll take a fair bit of beating. She's in the Carl Cup, but I think the Martin Pipe is the plan. So she's not probably your typical Martin Pipe type, but she'll take a lot of beating as long as she doesn't get hyped up too much, I'd imagine.
And we will have a handicap preview out for you next week. Cheltenham Handicap Special next week, the Matchbook Betting Podcast. Friday lays then. Michael, you've made your Lulamba case. That's the one you're going to be against in the Triumph at 3.7. Lee, we haven't heard your Dino Blue case.
Yeah, I think very short, 2.5 there. I think that, look, with the case with the New Lion, I feel like I've got two darts against the New Lion. In this race, I feel like I can't home in on one, but I just want to be against at that price. I think 2.5 is very short. She's disappointed in a few runs in the past. Can put in the odds thing, and just rallied and had a tough enough race there just the other day against Allegory Devassi. Yeah, 2.5 is too short for me. I'd be the Lee of the day on Friday.
Best Friday bets then. Gold Cup day. Matt.
Factor file.
In the Gold Cup, Donn.
Hello, neighbour in the time hurdle for all the reasons outlined earlier.
Charlie.
Lulamba in the Triumph.
Dan.
You and me against the world, Charlie. Lulamba.
Jesus, I hope something wins the Triumph that we put up. Lee.
I was going to put up East India Doc, but you know what? Can I change or not?
Yeah.
I'll take seeing nominee in the Hunters. I think it's 9.0 on the Matchbook. I think that's too big for last season's winner.
Fine. Emma. Sorry, Emma. Come in again.
Sorry. I'll go Final Demand if he shows up in the Albert Bartlett, but if not, I'll stick with Woodoo in the Martin Pipe, I think.